This is Groove Talk with FrogE Style.
Welcome to another episode of Groove Talk, everybody. On this episode, I am joined by Marcus Trummer.
What's up?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Not bad. I was glad to come down here.
Awesome.
Check out this part of the city. I never come down here. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for making the journey out. I guess just to kind of start off the podcast, why don't you kind of give the audience a little bit of background information about yourself?
Sure. I don't really have much of an interesting story. I'm still pretty young.
Yeah.
Writing that story, but I just grew up performing in different capacities. Always been drawn to that, and then whether it be acting or singing, dancing, whatever. I've never been the type of person to just stick with one kind of style of music to perform, but that comes from what I listen to as well. So really, anything that inspires me. I think my biggest thing is I like music that has kind of soul to it. So I don't know, a lot of feeling, expressive. And that doesn't mean it has to be a love song or something, because I like my fair share rock and roll. And so just anything that kind of feels pure and from the heart. I've never really been drawn to clean cut pop music necessarily. But good pop music that they're just singing their heart out, that kind of thing, I can dig for sure. So yeah, that's the main thing, and that's what I'm trying to do with all the music I create, is trying to make it feel authentic and have that kind of real, just an expression of emotion, and also showcase musical talent. Yeah.
Cool. I definitely agree with you. It's pop music can seem like it is a little soulless at times,
It definitely can.
Yeah. And then also on the flip side, you do hear those pop songs that are, popular, and they can just hit you.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I try not to write off one genre, even though maybe naturally I don't gravitate to I don't know, super heavy metal or whatever. I can still appreciate it, and the same thing goes for pop music. So yeah.
I think that's kind of the mark of I don't know, just the true music fan, you know what I mean?
Man.
Now more than ever, I think people are they're becoming just fans of music. Whereas, I don't know, back when I was growing up, at least, it seemed like people were, I'm a fan of this genre, or I'm a fan of this genre.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And with things like the internet, even within the span of an hour of scrolling on Instagram, you can be exposed to a whole wide variety of music.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, you play solo and you have a band as well. Did you start off as a solo artist and then kind of add the band, or did the band come first? How did that kind of whole thing come together?
I guess I started performing on my own as kind of the singer-songwriter act. So I did a fair share, just the open mics and cafes, that kind of thing. But I definitely wanted to write more band-like music. So lucky to get my guys, and they come to rehearsal and show up. It's pretty good. And now, after doing the band thing for probably about 2 years now, I'm starting to branch off and do more solo stuff again, just kind of because you have to be versatile to kind of make it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree. It seems like the more versatile you are, the more opportunities there are for you.
Yeah.
So when you are writing music, do you think of how the song will sound like as a whole, or are you just writing your parts and then you kind of bring it to your band, or how do songs come together?
I like I find I get like the words and the kind of general structure down, but when I bring it to like the guys, I definitely like to just let them do what they do, kind of, and I have my brother in the band. He's the drummer, so like there's a bit of like back and forth sometimes where like we'll start yelling at each other, like
Yeah.
trying to. But for the most part, I would say, yeah, like let them do their thing, and then the main kind of melody and stuff I do on my own. But
Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah, that seems like it would kind of work out having, a brother as a drummer, because it's probably one of the more difficult instruments to find somebody to play.
yeah, to the drums kind of I find often like can make or break a band, and so
Yeah.
it's good that having my brother too, because like I can kind of be straight and honest, and we'll we definitely sometimes have our differing opinions on how things should be, but like especially being brothers, we can kind of work it out, and we might make each other upset sometimes, but I find it's usually for the better. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So do you guys kind of have the same kind of taste in music, or?
It's similar. Yeah, I don't know. My brother kind of he listens to a lot of like tapes. Actually, he has
Okay.
cassettes, which I never really got into that kind of thing. But so we have our different perspectives for sure, which I like. Kind of everyone in the band actually has my bass player's really into like alternative music and emo like stuff, which like I don't really know a lot about. And then like same with the Lyndon, the guitar player. He plays a lot of like slide guitar, which is something that I haven't really done much of. So we all do have our different worlds we kind of come from and influences we draw from, which I like. I think it kind of makes our sound almost unique. So
Yeah, no, for sure, I agree. The thing with being like a singer-songwriter, when you are just performing by yourself, it's all your like style of music, you know what I mean?
right, yeah,
Whereas when you're in a band like that, it's kind of like the amalgamation of everybody's tastes to make this something that's like kind of a combination of it all.
yeah, and those are my favorite bands too. Like just like collectives of people like all just jamming it out, doing their thing. Like all the Allman Brothers band. This one, just jamming it out.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I super appreciate like a good jam session for sure.
Yeah,
Some of my
definitely.
favorite moments at live shows have been like when the band just like goes off on this like random jam for like 10 minutes and then they come back and they finish off the song or something, and you're
Yeah,
like, yeah.
sometimes we do that too much.
Yeah.
We've been accused. But I like doing it, so.
Yeah, hey, if you're having fun, then.
Yeah.
So how did I guess you meet the other members of your band?
That was kind of, both were pretty cool, because we didn't go to school together or anything like that like a typical band does. We actually like all kind of lived in different parts of the city. Lyndon, the guitar player, actually he lived out in Turner Valley for a while, so we I met him at the National Music Center had a kind of like a youth jam club program, and I've been going to that for a while. It's kind of where I learned guitar almost, and then I ended up meeting him there, and I actually at first I didn't realize he was younger than me, which I mean, if you're playing music, it doesn't really matter either way. Like,
Yeah.
but it actually worked out good because my brother's also younger. So, and then also Carl, the bass player, we were doing it was a part of like school jazz band stuff. They have a kind of honor band they put together every year. Like a couple people from every high school, and so met him there, and I needed we had a couple other bass players we went through before that, and we just needed someone for a gig. I found him on Instagram, DM'd him, and showed up, and he's kind of been there ever since. The joke was, I think the first gig he played with us, he brought like a bunch of girls with him, and so like that's how we knew we had to keep him in.
He was bringing the ladies.
Yeah.
What kind of opportunities are there in the city for like youth bands then? Is there a lot, or?
It hasn't been bad. It's been, there's definitely the kind of limitations you would expect with the rules with liquor laws and all that stuff, and we've been lucky to have some good opportunities. There was Major Minor music project, Graham McKenzie. He helped us get some of our first shows, which was cool. Yeah. And then also with Music Mile in Inglewood, there's a few of us all coming up at the same time. People like Kate Stevens. There's a whole bunch of us, and we had our kind of banded together and did our youth thing. So I mean, you just kind of find your own roots and find different ways to make it work for you guys. I know it's, even now it's kind of annoying because the two guys in the band are under 18 still, and I'll get like some gigs that you can't do that, and it's like, it's not like the 70s where you could just like sneak them in kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Everyone, all the bars are like all strict, and but yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's kind of, I feel lucky to have been given the opportunities we have, and almost felt kind of accepted by some of the older people in the scene who have helped us along so far. So
awesome. Yeah, no, there's like Graham McKenzie. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast before, and
oh, sweet.
Yeah, like what he's doing with youth music in the city is, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's and I mean, it's good. There's venues too that have like changed their license. Like, we play a lot at the Blues Can, and we've been lucky enough to, for the past over a year now, host a once a month jam for youth, and so the Blues Can's also been very supportive of youth music, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of good people.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear, because I think some people can forget sometimes that it's like the future of music,
Right.
is the people coming up after us, and it's you want to instill a love of music in those people, I think, as young as possible, because they're the ones who are going to carry on the torch, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I mean, I don't think we deserve like special respect or anything being young, but just the invitation to play and, do our thing. Kind of give us that time to develop, and hopefully over time we'll turn into something good. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So do you think because you did start when you were younger, a band when you were younger, do you think that, and even now that when you have younger members in your band, do you think that it makes you kind of more creative in looking for places to play?
I think, yeah, you kind of, sometimes you have to be creative. But I think that goes for really anyone who's like an up-and-coming musician or band.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, knowing bars and knowing the economics of it, you can understand why, they don't want to pay you sometimes because they actually aren't making money.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's like finding a way where you can access new people and reach new crowds, while at the same time, everyone else is kind of mutually benefiting. So we've done a lot of different scenarios. Just kind of, you got to take what you can get, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I guess, is it, because I know you've played in some interesting locations like cafes and barbershops and the airport, I saw, I think.
Yeah, I played the airport, yeah.
So is that people approaching you to play there, or are you approaching them?
With getting gigs, I've been fairly lucky to get a lot of people actually approaching us. There's definitely been some where you have to send like 5 emails and like finally they respond, and some of those turn out to be really good gigs, the ones you kind of have to hustle a little bit for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, I find sometimes there's droughts and things will just randomly happen. Someone will call me, hey, do you want to play my farmer's market or whatever? We'll give you $100 or something, and it's like, why not?
Yeah. Get your name out there, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to keep busy, and especially in that development phase, just kind of take whatever you can get. I mean, like, not like getting like screwed over by people or something, like you have to sell all these tickets, which I know happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that happens a lot in other cities, like, it's kind of a pay-to-play type thing.
Well, I mean, bigger cities in, like, the U.S. and stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had a ton of experiences like that, so
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I think the Calgary music scene is kind of good at weeding those promoters out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some posts.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. I've seen some posts.
Yeah.
So, I guess what has your experience been with other musicians in the Calgary music scene?
I would say very positive for the most part. Yeah, I like it, and especially being young, it's, you're always fighting to kind of get taken seriously, which is fine. I mean, there's no reason why people should until you kind of proven that you can play and stuff. But just, going to jams and running into playing shows with other musicians, they've always been super supportive of each other, and there's a lot of different like scenes. I've been kind of lucky, especially with my style. I've never really fit into one box, so I've actually got to experience a couple different scenes, like, and some of the old blues guys in the city that people might have not have heard of if they don't interact with those people, but also like the hip hop and the R&B scene and the rock bands, and it's cool. It's a cool city because there is a lot of music happening, and I think a lot of people don't realize it. They're like, oh, I mean, Nashville, Austin, you know.
Yeah, LA or whatever.
Toronto even,
yeah,
right?
Toronto, Vancouver even.
Yeah. But there's a lot of talented people too, just kind of under the radar. So
yeah, and I definitely agree. It's one of the things that kind of blew me away when I first really got involved with the Calgary music scene was listening to some of these bands and just being like, this should be, everybody should be listening to this, you know, like the amount of good music that comes out of Calgary is phenomenal.
yeah,
You could go to a show, and like a real good show, like almost every single weekend. There's something going on every single weekend.
right.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like the kind of scene is like almost super saturated with like bands, or what are your thoughts on that, I guess?
The whole with the saturation thing, I mean, like, in my experience, more music the better kind of thing. I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, if you're good and stuff, like, you might start growing a following, and if you're not, you know, maybe you don't, but I can't see why anyone would think that to be a negative, that there's lots of bands playing and collaborating, doing lots of shows. I think it's great for the city.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's, like I said, there's stuff going on almost every weekend, and no matter what kind of music you like, you can find something.
Yeah.
And it'll be awesome.
Yeah, you might have to, especially if you live out here, drive a bit.
Yeah.
That's one of the challenges with Calgary being spread out almost.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't feel as big as it is, because only if you start seeing the same people going out to shows.
Yeah.
Which is tough, but there's a lot of good music, so people should check it out for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like, every single week, you know, you can go to something like Rocking for Dollars, for example, which is,
good one.
Yeah, you pay, it's like $4 and you get 5 to 10 bands, 15 minutes each, and it's on a Wednesday night. It happens every single Wednesday, and it's usually packed. So, yeah. How do you get people? Do you do anything unique to get people to kind of pay attention to your music?
I've never been kind of like I don't know, as far as unique goes.
Yeah.
I've never been the type of person to go for like gimmicky things or like, you know, fancy marketing, whatever it be. I guess my philosophy is like just make good music, and that in itself is unique. So, I mean, we're still in the process of kind of honing our skills and finding our sound, but I think, you know, we keep getting better, and we're getting there. So I think almost the unique part that I'd like to achieve is like unique as in like these guys are super good, super tight, and then our style too, which is, I mean, there isn't actually a lot of bands doing kind of blues, soul, especially younger bands. So that's kind of my thing. I think like bands who dress up or whatever, do cool stuff like that. I think that's great. It's not really my thing. Maybe who knows? Maybe we'll opt to, I don't know, play shirtless or something. But
So give the ladies what they want.
Exactly.
And probably some gentlemen too. Don't want to discriminate.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think the biggest thing that's attractive to audiences is, you know, I think that they can tell when a band or a performer is just being like authentic to themselves, you know? If you're trying too hard to do something, I think that the audience can tell, and it kind of puts them off a little bit, you know? So as long as like you're doing your thing and that's true to like what you want to project or true to how you want to be, then the audience can tell and they kind of like latch on to that a little bit.
Yeah, that's been, well, because, playing like kind of bluesier stuff too. Like people can kind of, like, I don't know, these white kids, 18, from Canada, playing like blues and soul and funk and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, if it's what you like and you've listened to it, you can kind of grow an appreciation for it. And so, I mean, like especially my original stuff, like I'm not gonna write and try to pretend like, from Mississippi, working all day in the sun.
Yeah.
But you can draw from that kind of southern, even though I've never been there, or from the Chicago or whatever. Yeah, that's been my take on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess when you are writing songs, what kind of topics do you kind of touch on? Is it very personal stuff or?
Sort of. Is one of the tough things is when I listen to like the sound of my music, it's kind of like a mature sounding style.
Mm-hmm.
However, like I don't have like the life experience to write like the lyrics to match that. So I found like writing from my perspective is good, but I tend to keep it more like general, almost like my view on the world, and even I'll write about other people's situations and things that they've told me, just because I've only done so much in the past 18 years, and some of it would be pretty boring to write about. So
yeah, no, that's fair. So what kind of bands do you take inspiration from then?
It's kind of all over. Yeah. I definitely like to go back to the older stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, not just bands too, artists, kind of for like the guitar and stuff, like the blues guys like B.B. King and Muddy Waters, like the roots there. And then I like the singing, like soul and Motown and funk and Al Green, Bill Withers, classics. And then rock as well. That's kind of more like the structure and like the lyrics. The Stones, Zeppelin, Tom Petty, whoever. Yeah, there's a lot of good music being made now too. A big fan of the Tedeschi Trucks Band, which is, I mean, I've never seen them live yet. I'm hoping to soon. They just packed the stage with like 15 people and like, horn section and guitars, and that's kind of my dream. So kind of bringing in all those influences and finding a way to melt it all together and make it sound good.
Awesome. So did you find all those kind of classic bands, did you find them on your own, or were you introduced to them, or how did you come about them?
That one, I mean, my parents kind of listened to a fairly broad, like, they weren't ever like, we're only listening to country in this house, like, so like a lot of like folk and jazz and stuff like that, which kind of opens the door to a whole world of different genres. But my parents, I wouldn't say had a direct like impact on my taste. It was kind of like me finding it on my own after being exposed to that, and even, you know, going through like my grandparents' music collection and all their CDs and records and stuff. Yeah, and just over time, especially recently, the past like 6 years playing guitar, that's kind of shaped my musical tastes. So, it's, you know, when I was younger, I'm sure I probably listened to some terrible pop music. And yeah.
I think as we all did.
Yeah, I mean,
like my musical tastes were terrible up until I found an AC/DC CD that was just in my dad's CD collection or whatever, and I listened to it and I was like, oh shit, like this is cool. Like
yeah, I have to agree with that. Just stumbling across random CDs and
especially when you're younger, and I don't know, there's something about kind of a CD that still holds a special place kind of in my heart, just you know, having that physical thing, having to put it in, and
right.
It's just so different now with, like, you know, streaming services and stuff like that. And
yeah, the music is definitely becoming more kind of like disposable, almost, like with, like, I see all these people like, oh, you gotta write music that'll, you know, fit the Spotify algorithm, and, you know, that song's too long or can't have a guitar solo or whatever, and it's like, I don't know, man, like I don't really care, like, because I like the soul, do what you want kind of thing. Yeah, with CDs and like the big thing with records coming back too. I think there's definitely people out there who are craving that kind of real music, and, you know, not everyone's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely agree. And, like, you know, I do like the fact that music is available like that, and when I'm just, you know, washing the dishes or whatever, doing something, I can, you know, plug in my phone, listen to Spotify. Cool.
Yeah, it's great.
But I also really crave the other side of music, like what you were talking about, like that soul, that full album experience, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And that, for me, I mean, like, I mostly listen to, like, streamed music.
Yeah.
Just because it's easy, right? And also I've discovered so many new artists through that. But, like, for me, I like to see them live. Yeah. That's, like, where, to me, that's the best way to consume music. And I just like how it brings people together. And, just living in the moment. So, yeah, the live thing is definitely my favorite part of it all. So.
Yeah. No, I would definitely agree. There's something about the live show that just can't be replicated.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've, I don't know, just some of those moments, right? You know, they're magic, right?
Yeah. I've definitely had those moments in the middle, you know, you're just in the crowd, and it's cool, because everybody's there for the same thing. They're all here to see this band, and I've just had my mind blown, like, so many times at concerts where they, like, you know the song, and then they just go off on this, like, 20-minute jam session or whatever, or there's a crazy guitar solo or a drum solo or whatever it may be, something that's different from the recorded version of the music. And once you see that, it's like I almost crave it now. Like, I want to see that. I want to see bands, when I see them live, give me something different that's not just their recorded music, you know?
Yeah, it's what it's all about, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. So I know that you were nominated for some YYC Music Awards this year, and you won the Zackariah and the Prophets Memorial Award.
Yeah.
So I guess what kind of was that like?
It was a cool experience. I I don't know, I guess they liked my essay or whatever that I wrote, but
Yeah.
I mean, just to know, like, you're being recognized for what you're doing is kind of cool. I'd never really cared too much for awards, but that one definitely meant a lot for me. And it's a really good opportunity to get into work with Zackariah and the Prophets now. They're kind of been super supportive of me and what I'm doing, and yeah, it's sweet. I actually was just back at the Palace the other night, back on that stage, thinking about that. Like, heck yeah.
Nice. So, I know that award this year came with, I think it was some studio time, or
Yeah. We're gonna do a session sometime in the new year. Haven't quite figured it out, but
yeah.
yeah.
So I guess what do you do to prepare for something like that?
I'm kind of learning that right now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've always been like playing lots. That's kind of my thing. And now getting into the recording part of being a musician and being a band, you know, it's definitely a new world. We've done some stuff, kind of in the studio. I can remember, last year doing our first kind of official session or whatever. We were thinking of doing kind of like a demo, maybe gonna release it, and yeah, we ended up like completely bombing just in the studio, like our first time, right?
Yeah.
And like not really being able to use the stuff we recorded, and so that was kind of a big learning experience, because it just takes like a different level of preparedness. You have to be super well rehearsed, and like the rhythm, getting everyone to play together. Yeah, there's a lot to it. And then also, for this upcoming project, it's like assembling the team of people who you're going to work with, whether it be engineers, producers, or session players if you're doing that thing. It's definitely it's a different world, but I'm excited because that's kind of the next step for me and the band as well. So
Cool. So going into that, do you kind of have an idea of what songs you would like to record, or is that kind of still up in the air?
it's just kind of figuring it out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do some of the older stuff, but also I have some new ideas, and just want to make the most of it and see where it goes. So, yeah.
Cool. When you are kind of trying to compile, I guess, a collection of music, are you paying attention to like what kind of feel you want to project with the finished product, or?
Yeah, definitely right now, like, it's tough to try and think that far ahead.
Yeah.
So I've never been used to doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just taking everything into consideration, so that hopefully it's not bad like our first demo thing that we did. But no, I'm sure it'll be good. But yeah, I'd like the final product kind of be something I'm proud of, and something that kind of shows where I'm at now, and then moving forward also kind of maybe a preview to what the future could be. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Is this something, I mean, you're doing it now and it's awesome. So is this something, like, have you decided, like, you're going to take a go at it, I guess? Take a go at the whole singer-songwriter thing, the musician thing, or...
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have plan B right now. So music is my thing. Just out of high school, I've been trying to pursue it in any way I can. So whether that be playing guitar for other people, doing my solo stuff, busking, or like with the band, doing our shows and whatnot. It's I'm having a lot of fun so far.
Yeah.
It's hard work, but I can't really see myself doing anything else. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So maybe what's maybe one thing about kind of pursuing music as a career that you didn't expect? Like, maybe some challenges that you faced that you didn't think would be there, or something like that.
One of the things is just like how important kind of like the business side of it is. If you want to have like a actual career in music, I've been learning a lot about that recently. And yeah, like as much as I just want to like play guitar all day and stuff, there's like a lot of business stuff you have to take care of and money stuff to make those gigs more successful and hopefully play the shows you want to in the future. And so the business part's definitely been a bit of a learning curve for me, but I think it's very important if you to at least take it seriously. I don't really think about like getting rich off this or anything like that. I think that's a little crazy, but to make it work, you definitely have to know a bit about promoting and a little bit about marketing, how to put together a bill, because a lot of the time you have to do it yourself. Getting people out to see you, right? Like, there's a lot more skills that I've had to kind of almost start learning, like even video and audio recording skills that, you wouldn't normally think that you would have to do. Like, you'd think you just write songs, play music, and you're done. Like, if you look at most successful artists, that's all you see, right? But you don't see all the other stuff before they were successful that
Yeah.
they had to do, whether it was whatever, busking every weekend or working a few jobs to pay the bills kind of thing. It's a bit of a grind, but if you love it, you gotta do it.
Yeah, you'll make it work.
Yeah, gotta make it work.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with the podcast, I didn't expect all the like hats that I would have to wear. Like,
right.
You do have to be good at marketing yourself and
Yeah.
promoting yourself, and that's something that was really hard for me because I'm bad at that. And yeah, video editing, I learned a little bit of video editing, and just there's a lot more things that go into it than kind of, or I guess meets the eye or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean even nowadays too, more than ever, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot more responsibility on the artist to kind of, especially in the beginning, almost do it all. Which I mean, it's great because it gives you a lot of freedom. You're not like, a slave to the label or something. You can do what you want, but it's definitely a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, that is something that technology has allowed to us, is you can do it all yourself.
It's a great time.
Yeah, for fairly cheap too. So
right.
Whereas in the past you would need like that label, or you would need to kind of be discovered, I guess. Whereas like people are still discovered, but if you just work hard and you keep at it, you can have a career in music. And it's just you have to be willing and have that drive to kind of just do the work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think a lot of people kind of, I don't know, at least I've known people in my life where, you know, they'll start something and, you know, it's kind of hard at first, like everything is, and, you know, they do it for a couple months and then they give up on it because it's like, I'm not going anywhere with it. It's like, well, no, you've got to just, if you like it and you love it and you stick with it, something will happen. Guaranteed.
Right. That's what we're hoping, you know?
Yeah.
I've gotten some good advice from... I've been lucky enough to meet a bunch of like older blues musicians in the local scene, like Tim Williams, and also passing through. And yeah, that's one of the things they say. Like, it's kind of like, just don't quit. Just keep doing it if it's what you want to do. Like, there's no real easy, quick path to, you know, having a successful career, however you define that. You just gotta put in the work, and that's what a lot of people. It did surprise me too. Like before, you know, when you see famous bands and stuff, you know, you just think it's kind of like, yeah, some guy's gonna see you, and then all of a sudden, like, you're recording an album and goes in the charts. And no, it's like you don't see all the like shitty gigs and late nights and long drives and all that stuff. So
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I think that again, technology is kind of maybe changing our perspectives on that a little bit with, you know, like
right.
podcasts or YouTube videos and stuff like that, where you can see kind of the journey of the band or whatever, and it kind of gives you a little bit more of a realistic expectation of what you need to do to be successful.
Yeah, there's definitely, YouTube's good for, I've learned a lot through that. And yeah, there'll be like other up and coming bands that'll post their kind of behind the scenes, and you'll learn like tips and all that stuff. It just kind of blows my mind, just that there's access to that. So super fortunate for that. I mean, it's a cool time to be doing this. Now the challenge is getting people off their phones.
Yeah, exactly.
To come see you live.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe what's like the best piece of advice that you've been given from somebody who is, you know, kind of a successful musician?
Do what you love. Don't try and change your style to like fit with what people want. And just do what you enjoy and put everything into it. You know, you can't half-ass it. You have to make it good, whatever it is that you choose to be doing, and stick with it. I think that kind of message I've heard from a lot of people, as well as other things like don't get married and stuff. You know. But
well, hopefully you're at least a few years out from that.
Yeah.
So being kind of a younger person and being a little bit newer to the music scene, I guess what is just kind of your take on it? What do you think that it does good? Maybe what are some things that you think it could do better? Stuff like that.
I think like the music scene itself, as far as like bands and venues and promoters, is doing a pretty good job of giving bands and, you know, from my experience, the youth an opportunity to at least, you know, get yourself out there. I think the biggest thing is like the general public. Music itself isn't bad, like, but it's maybe, you know, showing that off to, you know, people who have never heard of that, local bands, because there's lots of good venues in town that have music all the time, like you mentioned, Broken City or the Ironwood or Ship and Anchor or whatever, and yeah, I think that that's maybe a fault in the Calgary scene is and Canadian scene in general, is we kind of we perform and we do our thing and we get all our grants from the government and stuff, but the biggest part of the industry itself is the fans, and so without that you don't really have a career. So figuring out ways to get people listening to music, buying music, and yeah, definitely coming out to see live music, because that's where a lot of the money's made now, for sure, aside from merch and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to get people to care, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's because the average person is just bombarded with so much information and so much stuff from social media being like, hey, care about this, hey, care about this, no,
Right.
care about this. But it's so how do you stand out? That is the question, I guess, and I don't think anybody's fully answered it, but
yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, do people have to care about local bands? No. Should they? I mean, maybe. I think you kind of have to give people a reason to care about you, and so I don't, as much as I can sit here and say it sucks that it's so hard to get people to come see us play, and there's not, there's over 1 million people. Why isn't people showing up to our gigs? There's 5 people.
yeah.
You have to give people a reason, and so doing something that's unique and of value is definitely a big piece of that, and then being able to share that with people, and I think naturally happens, hopefully, through word of mouth and word of internet.
Yeah. The new word of mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I think that's really it's pretty dead on. Is you have to give people a reason to care. You have to give people that reason why they want to come and see you again, or why they want to buy your album, or why they want to listen to your podcast.
Right. And so I mean, that's what I've noticed. I'm not an expert, but with the Calgary scene, a lot of bands do their thing and stuff. They're pretty good. But it's, if you want to break out of just the local thing, I definitely think you have to think beyond just playing music. You have to think about the bigger picture and standing out amongst the many acts there is all over the world, because there's probably thousands, if not more, people who do what I do, probably better. So
yeah, well, that's the thing too with the internet, right? Is you're not just competing against, I hate to use the word competing, but competing for attention, I guess. You're not just competing for the attention of, bands across the world are now competing for everybody's attention, you know what I mean? The people in Calgary can now listen to bands from anywhere in the world, which is the touch of a button. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that, but
well, I mean, no, it's interesting too, because in the past there'd only be so many acts that the general public would even hear about, just because there's almost, the labels were almost gatekeepers, and so now that it isn't like that, and whoever can make a song in their basement and put it up and could get millions of views on YouTube or whatever. It's it seems like there's more like competition, as you're saying, but it's like, I guess, finding your fans and finding the people who like what you do, and yeah, like doing something that brings value and stands out. Yeah, so I mean, that's gonna be the challenge moving forward. I'm definitely grateful that it's that way rather than the what it has been in the past, because at least, you know, it's somewhat in your hands. Mm-hmm. You have much more control over, you know, your own success, as much as, you know, weird things happen with algorithms and viral videos. But
yeah, even though I was talking about how you're competing for, you know, the attention, but on the flip side, it also gives you access to the world,
right?
You know? So even though the world is competing for the attention of your audience, you also have now access to the world's like as an audience. So
yeah, exactly.
It is kind of like a double-edged sword, you know.
Yeah, it's a new era.
New era of music. It's this exciting era of music.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of, I don't know, it's sort of like a fresh idea. Like, people are still kind of getting used to it, and
yeah,
you know, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, you know, I'm hoping like 20 years from now, bands still play live. There's not like holograms or like people just watch concerts in VR or something.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I hope that the human experience is still there.
Can't be that for sure.
No, you can't. So, I guess what does 2020 hold for Marcus Trummer?
2020. Yeah. I guess it's gonna be well, definitely, as we've been talking about the recording part of it all. I starting to dive deep into that, and so you can expect more music online, and yeah, hopefully it's a good year, kind of just another stepping stone. Keep doing what we're doing, keep playing shows, and you know, branch out a little bit, you know, Alberta, BC, whatever. But no, it's gonna be good, and we'll have to see what happens.
Awesome, man. So are there any just kind of final things you want to kind of throw out there before we close this out, or?
Not really.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on this podcast, and hopefully, you know, we do it again sometime. You know, we can look back on all the stuff I said, and maybe I'll actually have those recordings out there, and, you know, see how they went. Super excited for the next year. Should be good.
Awesome. Well, I'll have all the social media links and stuff in the episode notes, so if anybody is interested in finding you and listening to some of that music, and
yeah,
it'll be easy for them to do so. So thank you very much for being on the show, man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sometimes it feels like I do nothing but lose, waste my time walking backwards and always singing the blues. But it only takes 1 second, close my eyes and then I'm free. 'Cause there's nothing that can stop this fire that burns inside of me. Sometimes in this life, feels like I'm floating away, one place to another. I ain't got no home to stay. But when everything is crazy and I think I've lost my mind, take a look inside my heart, because it's you there that I'll find. 'Cause even when good times come to pass, and even when darkness seems to last, and even when everything is falling apart and you don't know how to start again, no matter how hard it may seem, I just keep on holding times have come to pass. Sometimes it feels like everything is a mess. Tired of putting on a mask to hide things that you regret. But there's nothing wrong with being honest with yourself, it's true. And don't you worry about those things that you wish you didn't do. 'Cause even when good times come to pass, and even when darkness seems to last, and even when everything is falling apart and you don't know how to start again, no matter how hard it may seem, I just keep on holding to that dream. Even when the good times have come to pass. Alright, play it for me. Past, and even when darkness seems to last, and even when everything is falling apart and you don't know how to start again, no matter how hard it may seem, I just keep on holding to that dream. Even when the good times have come to pass, even when the good times have come to pass, even when the good times
If you like this episode of Groove Talk, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Help us break through those evil algorithms and reach the most amount of glorious listeners that we possibly can. For up-to-date information on the show, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can find us at FrogE Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.